Okay, Vino Madunino, Hino Aleno Masi Aldeno Kone, Naleno Masi Aldeno Kone. I'd like to begin the shiur tonight in Shaare Orah. I'd like to dedicate the shiur tonight L'Ilun Nishmat Harav Hagan Adin Eben Yisrael Steinsaltz Ruach Adonai Tenechenu Began Eden. Also for Harav Aaron Volken Zichron Sadik Livracha Ruach Adonai Tenechenu Began Eden. Also for Avio Mori Va'atet Roshvit Tzvi Hirsch Ben Mordechai Ruach Adonai Tenechenu Began Eden. וגם חמי ומורי ועטת ראשי אליעזר בן ישעיהו דוד רוח אדוני תנחנו בגן עדן, וגם חיים שמואל יעקב בן אריה-לב, וגם דוד בנימין בן משה יעקב, וגם שמעיה בן עדינה, וגם הרב יעקב צבי בן ליבה. רוח אדוני תנחנו בגן עדן. Also for Hatun Hana bat Mazar Miriam, for Ruth bat Rachel, for Meira bat Chaim, for Zina bat Shura, for Chana Rachel bat Binyamin Yehuda, and for Rachel bat Leah. רוח אדוני תנחם מגן עדן, לעבדים המתים לחיים רפואה שלמה פרב שמעיה יוסף חיים בן פשע מרים. אל נרפנה לו, אל נרפנה לו, אל נרפנה לו. Also for אליהו בן שרה, for שמעון משה בן עדינה, for יהושע בן משה, for חיים שנו זלמן יהודה בן הינדה יוכבד, for דעת זה בן לאה, and for משה בן בוואי. אל נרפנה להם, אל נרפנה להם, אל נרפנה להם. Also for Shema for Masu bet Fortuna, for Esther Pero bat Chana Devorah, for Chava Miriam bat Bunya Reza, for Chaya Miriam bat Esther, and for Miriam Inessa bat Leah. El Narafana lehen, El Narafana lehen, El Narafana lehen. And also for Rafa Shema for all the people affected by the coronavirus and any other sick members of the Jewish nation, may they have a complete and speedy recovery in the Zuchut of the Torah we're going to learn tonight. El Narafana lehem, El Narafana lehem, El Narafana lehem. Okay, so we're in the Shaare Orah, and we're on page Kof Tet Zayin, and we're in the second paragraph below the line, Kof Samach Aleph, Bekinui Shechina Ko. So the rabbi here is discussing the different nicknames for the name Yud Keva, for the name Aleph Daled Nun Yud, Amunai, and one of those is Ko, and this was discussed last week. Now he's continuing on. Re'yat HaNevi'im et Mareh HaNevuah Hiderech Sfirat HaMalchut. The ability of the prophets to see their prophetic vision is by way of the Sfirah of the Malchut. V'lachen hishtamshu b'shem Ko, Amar Hashem. V'lachen hishtamshu b'shem Ko, Amar Hashem, shehu Hashem shel HaShekhinah. And that's the reason why when the prophets spoke, they used the name Ko. Ko Amar Hashem. This is what Hashem said. Shehu Hashem shel HaShekhinah. That Ko is the name of the Shekhinah, the Kaf Hey. V'hi nikret aspaklaria she'ena meira. And this is also called the aspaklaria, which is the lens that is not clear, the unclear lens, the opaque lens. Rak Moshe Rabbeinu Amru Chazal, and only Moshe Rabbeinu, our rabbis taught in Yevamot in 49b, Hayaro be'aspaklaria hameira. Only Moshe Rabbeinu of all the prophets of the Jewish people saw with aspaklaria meira, which is a clear lens. V'lachen lo diber b'shem ko, and that's why Moshe Rabbeinu throughout the entire Torah does not speak in the language of ko, ela amar ze hadavar. Moshe Rabbeinu used the word ze. Ko implies like, ze implies this. This, the word ze, is much more definitive than the word ko. K'mo shebi'er ha-Magid mipalatsk, like the Magid Mipalatsked, who is one of the students of the Gra in Bibiru HaYud Gimel Ikarim, in his explanation of the 13 essentials of faith. Shemoshe Rabbeinu shaya ro'eh hadavar aburyo, that Moshe Rabbeinu that was able to see the item in its clarity, k'mo shehu bilti mamshil meshalim v'chidot, in a way that was without parables, without riddles, and without meshalim. Ela ro'eh k'mo shehu beruchani, but Moshe Rabbeinu would see it exactly as it was in the spiritual world. Ki lo haya mavo lekoach hamidameh shelo, because there was no mavo, there was no need, there was no introduction, there was no comparison to his ability for his midameh, his imagination. Shelo kelal b'nivuato. I'm sorry. Shelo ki lo haya mavo lekoach hamidameh shelo kelal b'nivuato, because his prophecy was so powerful that his faculty of imagination had no sway, and that's the concept of the aspaklaria ha-me'ira. Unlike the other prophets, the rest of the prophets, which saw through their imagination the items that were in the spiritual world. And this is what the rabbi said. Kol haneviim hitnabe'u beko, Moshe hitnabe bezeh. All the prophets spoke with the language of Ko, and Moshe Rabbeinu spoke with the language of Zeh. Umuvanhu, and it's clear from this, ki ko hu dimyon, that the word ko is like a dimyon, like an imagery, like the word like. V'zeh eno dimyon, and zeh, this is not a dimyon. This is more specific, and it's not an imagery. Upiresh bo ha'alshich, and the Alshich explained in Sefer Bemidbar in chapter Yud Bet. Ki halo gam Moshe derech hashechina hitaba lo hanevuah ki hi hapeh. That we understand that, well, of course, Moshe Rabbeinu also received his prophecy by way of the Shekhinah, and this is the concept of the Peh. The Peh is also connected to the Malchut. Ela Peh Malchut she Torah sheba'al Peh, as it says in the Petichat Eliyahu. Ela shehayta meshameshet lema'avar el hashefa Hashem ha'elyon. But the Shekhinah was considered to be like a ma'avar, like a passageway to abundance from the Shem Ha'elyon, from the name that's above, Shem Havaya, that's the Yud Kei Vav Kei, of course, the Tiferet, Baruch Hu, Mibli Shit Aveh Shama, without any thickening, which means the other prophets, what would happen is everything would appear to them from the Yud Kei Vav Kei derech of the by way of the Sifirah of the Malchut, but it was thickened in a way that their imagination was how they were able to see the spiritual items. But Moshe Rabbeinu would not see it through his imagination. It didn't require any thickening, spiritual thickening, of course, not physical. And that's similar to other prophets that they would get it by way of the Shekhinah. So Moshe also had his prophecy by way of the Shekhinah, but it was different. It was a different quality of prophecy. And all the other prophets received the value or the ichut, the quality of what's above, but only through the thickness and the dressing, the halbasha, the concept of the dressing, which of course was their imagination, me'en ichut hashechinah, similar a tamsit, a small amount of the quality of the Shekhinah. But this was not the case of Moshe. Ki ayidei ma'avar, because by way of the ma'avar of the Shekhinah, hayan adav v'nikar ol ayon shem agadol. That by way of his prophetic ability, because he would see without any thickening, it was a clear lens. That was the Malchut, and therefore he would see the Shem Agadol in the Tiferet through the Malchut, but clearly without any type of thickening or any type of halbasha, any type of dressing. The Kavanato shega Moshe Rabbeinu hayaro ederech hashechinah, and his explanation that we said above, that Moshe Rabbeinu also would see by way of the Shekhinah, rak shelo hayaro et ha'orot ha'elyonim haruchanim derech hashechinah betziurim v'dimyonot nevuim. But when Moshe Rabbeinu would see all of the upper or the supernal lights, shall we say, the spiritual entities above, he would see them derech hashechinah, but without any type of pictures or any type of imagery of the prophetic type. Ela or Hashem mamash timunat Hashem yabit, but he would see kavyachol, the or of Hashem mamash, not really mamash because there's no mamashut to the or, but he would see the or without any filtering, as the pasuk says, timunat Hashem yabit. The image kavyachol of Hashem he would see. The image of Yud Kei Vav Kei he would see. And because Moshe Rabbeinu used the terminology zehadavar, our rabbis explained in Masechet Sanhedrin and Daf Pei Tet 89a, en shnei nevi'im mitnabe'im b'signon echad. There are no two prophets that saw the same vision with the same type of imagery, even though most of the prophets were all saying very, very similar things, especially when they're talking about the future in the time of the Mashiach and things like that. Nevertheless, the prophetic imagery in each prophet was different, and that's why their descriptions were different one from another. Lefish aspaklaria shekol echad hayta shona, because each one was looking through a different type of lens, a different cloudy type of lens. But we can imagine if there were chas v'shalom, but if there were two Moshe Rabbeinus, hayu omrim ota nevoah mamash, the prophet would be exactly the same, which means since there was no malbush, since there was no levush, since there was no dimyon, it would be exactly as it said. So if there were two Moshe Rabbeinu, they would have said it exactly the same way. And also is explained in the book Ruach Hayim, that's the Maharal Masechet Avot, chapter 1, Mishnah 1. What it says about Moshe Rabbeinu, that he would be God would appear to him in a without any type of chidot, without any type of riddles. The hainu kinyan hazichuchita peshuta, like a simple glass, shall we say, shemared derech ba'etzem hadavar, that through the glass a person can see exactly what's on the other side of the glass. And this is when it says that the prophets, the rest of them, would speak with the language of Ko Amar Hashem, Retzono Lamar. What does he really mean to say? Ko Kmo hu dmut ha'inyan hazeh amar. The word ko is like the word kmo, like this image that I saw above. But they could not say zeh hadavar, this is what I saw, shamash mashizeh dibur ba'atzmo, because this is the exact word for word, without any type of alteration that they heard kavyachol from Hashem Yitbarach. Ayen Sham. Look there in more detail. Okay, continuing on. Kof Samach Bet. Ki bechol ma'arachot ha'kochavim. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Avraham Avinu. God said to Avraham Avinu, Shehashkachato v'hanhagato ito tiyeh b'midat ko. That the hashkacha, that the providence of Hashem, and also the government with him will be with the midah, with the attribute of ko. Like we've explained above. This is the essential point, the center point, the sfira of the malchut. Mima'al hanagata kochavim, above the kochavim, above the stars, the mazalot, shall we say. The mazalot, hanhagata teva harumuza b'kav daled, and the mazalot is hanhagata teva, which is hateva is the nature that is hinted in the kaf daled, in the 24 that we discussed last week, 6 times 4. Shidabek Avraham b'sfirat hamalchut, that Avraham Avinu would attach himself to the sfira of the malchut. Yuchal lagia mimena at keter elyon. He was able to get through the malchut up to the keter elyon, up until the highest one of the sfirot, the keter elyon. V'limshoch, on the next page, misham bnei hayeh mezoneh kemosh yitbaer, and from there he would be able to draw bnei, sons, hayeh, life, and mezoneh, sustenance, like we will explain. Kedita b'midrash Tanchuma, like it's explained in Midrash Tanchuma in Shofetim Siman Yud Aleph. Ve'yotze oto achutza, that he took him above, which means when he had the vision and he saw the sporach kochavim, it says vayotze oto achutza, he took him outside. What does it mean he took him outside? Amalo hare ata lemala mina mazal. He said what Hashem said to Avraham Avinu, you are above the mazal, which means hachutza is above the nature. It's above the nature. It's in the malchut, which is the supernatural world, as opposed to the bria yitzira atziyah, which is more of the natural world, shall we say. He took him above the mazal. That's the concept of the constellations. Ubierba Zohar, it explains in the Sefer Zohar in Parshat Naso, Daf Kof Mem Chet Amud Aleph, Vezel Shano, and this is the language of the Zohar. Amar le'akadosh baruch hu. God said to Avraham, Tze mitzdagenut shelcha, go from your itzdagenut, your prediction, your constellation, what was said, what the prediction was about you based on the constellations. Avram eno molid, Avraham molid. The name Avram is not going to give birth to children, but the name Avraham is going to be able to give birth to children. Mikanu lahala ishtadlu beorcha orchara. From here and on, you should attempt with a different way. Ko yezarecha, as it says in the pasuk. Ko, the language, ko yezarecha. My ko, the Zohar asks, what does this mean, ko? Hi kitra asira'ah. This is the 10th crown. Kadisha de malka, of the holiness of the king. Lemanda shemaya, that to those who know the name. Vehi kitra de dinin mitarin mineh. And this is the keter that the dinin are crowned with. The Tana, and it's also taught, Ko yezarecha mamash. Ko, which means your zarecha will be like that. They will be above the mazal. They will be able to go above the mazalot and not be underneath the mazalot. V'ha'inyan shehanagat hateva mitnahelet al yedei ma'arechet hakochavim, that the concept is that the way of the natural world acts according to the stars. Again, nothing happens without the agreement of Hashem, but the stars give a signal through the people who understand how to read the astronomy, how to read the astrology. They can understand what's the world that's going to happen or what's happening in the world, because the stars are showing what Hashem's desire is. But the stars are fixed, shall we say. Yes, there's no way to change that. The Jewish people, as it's saying over here, are above the mazal, which they have the ability to change it. That the rest of the world only can function according to the seder that Hashem established for the world through the nature. Omnam, but mi shedabuk bo yitbarach, whoever is truly attached to Hashem, hu munhagu mushkach behashgacha pratit. He is governed and he has providence of hashgacha pratit, which is an individual hashgacha, which is individual providence. Me'al hanhagat kochavim ma'azalot ve'amazalot, above the government of the stars and the constellations. Kedita b'Gemara, like it says in Masechet Shabbat, on Daf Kof Nun Vav Amud Aleph. En mazal Yisrael. There is no mazal. There is no constellation. There is no mazal for the Jewish people. Ubier harashba b'tshuva, and there the Rashba explained the Teshuvah, even though it says it's Teshuvah to Rashba, it's miucheset leRamban, Siman Resh Pei. This Tshuva is really the Ramban. She Yisrael chelek Hashem v'nachalato. Yisrael is chelek Hashem, is a part kavyachol of Hashem and his inheritance, nachalato. Ve'enan misurim lemazalot hashamayim, and they are not given over to the mazalot of the shamayim, the constellations. Ki hem lemala mina mazalot, because the Jewish people are above the mazalot. This is what he told Avraham Avinu, vayotze oto achutza, above the mazalot. V'zeh shamar katuv, and this is what it says in Yirmiyah. Me'otot hashamayim al techatu ki yehetu hagoyim mehema. What it says in Yirmiyah in chapter 10, verse number 2, v'chulei v'hu shekatuv astira panai mehem ere ma'aharitam. This is of course in Ha'azinu, I will hide my face from them. Let us see, we will see what will be their end. Ki esalek hashgachati, when I will remove my hashgacha, my divine providence, va'anichem tachat hamazalot, and then I'll put them under the mazalot, ushar mishartei hashamayim, and the other servants of the shamayim, which is the angels, asher bacharu lahem, because they picked those. Meaning what? Because they hid themselves from Hashem, so therefore, since they hid themselves from Hashem, Hashem hides himself from them and does not give them, the Jewish people, shall we say, the hashgacha pratit, where they're underneath the mazalot. Sharakum, like the rest of the goyim. When they behave like goyim, Hashem kavyachol treats them in a similar fashion. The azereh, and then you will see acharitan. Then you will see what is your end. Ratzalomar, what does it really mean to say? Mi yatzilem miyad hamikrim. Who will save them from the things that are happening? Hahavim mitnoot hagalgalim ve'mazalot, which means what these things are going on through the mazalot and through the constellations. Aval bat tzadikim, by the tzadikim it's written, ketiv, as it says in Tehillim chapter 24, verse number 4, Gam ki elech beget samavet lo yirara ki ata imadi. Even though I'm walking in the Gate Samavet, which perhaps would mean that I am through the constellations, lo yirara, I won't be afraid, ki ata imadi, because you are with me, which means you, Hashem, are with me, and I'm not subject to the mazalot. Okay. Now we're going to go above the line on page Kof Yud Zayin. This is back in the Shaare Orah. Ulafisha kol talud b'midah hazot inkret ko, and because everything is connected to this midah that is called ko, amar lo Hashem yitbarach leAvraham. Therefore Yud Kei Vav Kei said to Avraham, ko yezarecha. This ko, not this, but this, like this, will be your seed, your children. Klomar, that is to say, min hamidah hazot tikanes linkol kol hamekorot. From this midah, you will be able to enter to the source of all the sources, which of course is the Keter Elyon. Umayan kol continuing on, and the fountain of all, hatoladot, ad hamakom hanikra keter elyon, until you get to the place, till they're able to draw from the place that's called keter elyon. Mazal kol hamazalot, that is the mazal of all the mazalot. So if the mazalot are the constellations, the mazal of the mazalot, which is the keter elyon, this is the will of Hashem, of course, which is what I said before. Shemimenu nozli mayim hayim lekol hamazalot, because from the keter comes mayim hayim, living water that are nozel, that are dripping, that are flowing to all the mazalot. And this is how you will have children. And this is what the Gemara says, that even the Sefer Torah in the Heichal is underneath the mazal. It's not talking about the mazal of the constellations, because the Jewish people are above the constellations. It's talking about the mazal mina mazalot, which is the Keter Elyon. Continuing on. And not like the ones who think that it's the mazal of the kochavim that the ones that this is talking about. And what our rabbi said, the Perek Mishech Shich, in the chapter Mishech Shich, which is in Masechet Shabbat, Kof Nun Vav Amud Aleph, Kama Inyanim Noraim V'Niflaim Kiolim Bahen. There are things there that are connected to what we're talking about, included in what we're discussing here. Okay, let's go back. Okay, we're on Kof Samach Gimel on page Kof Yud Zayin. Tikanes limkor kol hamekorot. You will be able to enter to the source of all of the sources. Hatzadik yachol lahagia betfilato ad leketer elyon. The tzaddik, through his prayer, can achieve with his prayer to get to the Keter Elyon, the will, the Keter Elyon, which is the highest one of the Sfirot. Le'orer midat harachamim, to awaken the attribute of mercy. Levatel gezerot, to cancel types of decrees. V'limshoch misham b'nei hayeh u'mizoneh, and to draw from there children and life and sustenance. Like our rabbi wrote in later on, that the word ko is the petach to get to the name Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei, which represents the Tiferet. The Gam L'Shem Ehyeh, and also to the Shem Ehyeh. So if you go up, right above the Malchut, what's in the middle, of course, is the Tiferet, or the Yesod, of course, but then above that is the Tiferet, which is the Yud Kei Vav Kei. And then if you go straight up above that, what's in the middle is, of course, is the Keter Elyon, the Keter, which is the name Ehyeh, Aleph Hey Yud Hey. And even though the name Ko is vis-a-vis the name Aleph Daled Nun Yud, Shu Ashar Harishon Shel Armon HaMelech, that this is the first gate of the palace of the king, Aval Tzadik Ohavo Shel HaMelech, but the tzaddik, who is the one who is beloved of the king, tzarich rak likanes la'armon hamelech b'shem Ko. He only has to enter into the armon with the name Ko. That's the key to get into the armon, the palace of the king. Umiyad hamelech yiftach lo et kol ha'sharim ha'acherim, and immediately the king will open up all of the other sharim, all of the other gates, kidei shiret hamelech hashem b'cheder ha'pinimi, so they can see the king that is sitting in the inner chamber. The gam b'birkat kohanim, and also through the birkat kohanim, hamatchila Beko Tevarechu. Birkat Kohanim begins with the same word, Ko Tevarechu et Bnei Yisrael Mor Lahem. Magim HaKohanim Ada Keter. The Kohanim are able to achieve to the level of the Keter. Levarechet Yisrael B'or Panecha. To give blessing to the Jewish people, B'or Panecha, through the shine, through the light of Panecha, the face. The higher, the arich anpin, as opposed to the zer anpin. Like our rabbi explained in Shaare Yod, which of course is talking about the Keter, v'zel shano, and this is his language there. V'zeu shamar tzadik moshel yirat Elohim. This is what it means when it says in Shmuel Kaf Gimel Pasuk Gimel, tzadik moshel yirat Elohim. The tzadik is moshel, is ruling yirat Elohim, fear of Hashem. Upir Shobo, and they explained about this in Masechet Moed Katan and Taf Tet Zayin Amud Bet. Mi Moshel Bi, who rules over me? Kavyachol Hashem is saying, who has dominion over me? Tzaddik. The tzaddik has dominion over me. Shani gozer gezerah v'hu mevatela. Because I will make a decree, and the tzaddik has the ability to cancel the decree. Ketzad dad shebishah sheyesh tzaddik ba'olam. How does this work? You should know that when there is a tzaddik in the world, shehu ra'u lihitbonen b'tfilato litbonen ad olam haratzon v'rachamim, that through his prayer and through his reflection in his prayer, he's able to contemplate ad olam elyon, to arrive olam haratzon, to arrive at the world of the ratzon, which is the keter and the rachamim. Even though there was a decree that was decreed in the Bet Din Shamala, which of course is the Sphira of the Gvura, even though there's a din that is decreed based on that, but when that tefillah, that tzaddik rises up and goes to the keter, then the sharim, the gates of unlimited mercy are opened up. And when these open up, all of those dinim that were previously decreed are nullified, are cancelled, because of the me'orot, because of the tremendous emanation that comes from the keter, which is the rachamim. V'nitmalu kol asfirot rachamim, and all the sfirot are filled with rachamim, umini shefa, bracha, v'asilut, and with all types of shefa, which is abundance, bracha, blessing, and atzilut, and emanation. Shamati, he heard this from the Gaon, Rav Michal Zilber Shlita. Okay. Kof Samach Daled. Ad hamakom hanikra Keter Elyon, that it goes up to the place that is called Keter Elyon. Keter Elyon nikra mazal kol mazalot. The Keter Elyon is called the mazal of all the mazalot. Mazal milshon nozel. What is the word mazal? It doesn't mean luck. Luck means nothing. V'lashon nozel, from the language of to flow. Shemisham yotzet hanagat haolam latet lechol echad et tafkido. That from that comes all of the government of the world, the behavior of the world, to give each one his job, his role. Betikuna bria, in the correction of the bria, in the correction of the creation of the world, the correction of the world. Benisyonot, with different types of tests and different types of trials and tribulations. Shilo al yedam, that he's going to have by way of these trials and tribulations. This is how he fills his tikkun in the world. Yikabel et scharo, and this is how he receives his schar, his reward. Ba'olam hanetzach, in the world of everlasting. Of course, is the world of olam haba. V'hatafkido shel adam lo talu b'schar va'onesh, and the tafkid of a person in the world is not connected to schar va'onesh. Kedikta b'tikunei Zohar, like it's explained in the Zohar, in the Tikunei Zohar, and daf kaf zayin amud aleph. Ubegin the yud kei vav kei istalik b'mazala kadisha. When the yud kei vav kei goes up in the mazala kadisha, in the mazal kadisha, Ila'a, above, which of course the keter, the ihu keter ila'a, this is the keter. Be'ahu zimna b'nei hayeh mezoneh. In that particular instant, in that time, children, life, and sustenance, la bizchuta, is not connected to the person's zichuyot, to their merits, which is zuchut, of course, is shtachar va'onesh. Talya milta ela b'mazala talya milta. It's not connected to the merits of the person. It's connected to the mazal, which means the mazal of the keter. Be'ahu zimna, and in that time, hakol talui b'mazal, everything is connected to the mazal, which of course is the keter. Ve'afilu sefer Torah sheba'eichal, and even the sefer Torah that's found in the heichal is connected to that mazal. And it is not possible to change the mazal al yedei shinui ma'asa b'tshuva, by changing his deeds through teshuvah. Teshuvah helps a person to change what's going on regarding sachar ve'onesh, but teshuvah does not help to change the mazal of the person that's coming from the keter. Ki mazal zelo b'zichuyot talui, because the mazal, which is the keter, is not connected to the zichuyot. Rak tzadik mosh v'rak tzadik shemoshel b'yirat Elohim. Only the tzaddik that is moshel through his yirat Elohim, yachol ha'agio b'tfilato derech midat ha'malchut el haketer. Only that tzaddik through his tfilah, he can rise up through his prayer to get to the midah of the malchut, to get through the midah of the malchut to the keter, and through the getting to the keter, leshanot et hamazal shebnei hayem ezeh. And then he can change the mazal, which means he changes kavyachol, he changes the mazal that's in the shamayim, in the keter, as opposed to the sachar ve'onesh. Kedita b'devarim rabbah, like it's explained in devarim rabbah. Umau tzaddik moshel yirat Elohim. What does this mean that tzaddik rules over with his yirat Elohim? Hatzaddikim moshlim kavyachol she'akadosh baruch hu moshel. That the tzaddikim, what does this mean? That tzaddikim are moshlim kavyachol. That God is in charge. What does this mean? That tzaddik is moshel. Ketzad, how does this work? Kol ma shekadosh baruch hu tzaddikim osim. Everything that God does, the tzaddikim do. Ketzad, how does this work? Hakadosh baruch hu poked akarot. God is able to redeem women who are barren. The Elisha pakad tashunamit, and we see Elisha, who was a tzaddik, one of the prophets, was able to cause the shunamit, who was barren, to give birth to a child. Hakadosh baruch hu mechayeh metim. God resurrects the dead. The Elisha hechiyet bena shel shunamit, and we also see that Elisha was able to resurrect the son of the shunamit. Hakadosh baruch hu korea yamim. God, Kavyachol, tears up water, opens up water, splits the waters. V'Eliyahu v'Elisha karu yamim. And also we see the same thing that happened with Eliyahu and Elisha. They're able to tear up the water, split the water. Hakadosh baruch hu mapeh. God causes healing to happen. V'Eliyahu himtik hamarim. And Eliyahu caused the water that was bitter to become sweet, which is a type of refuah. Hakadosh baruch hu morid geshamim. God brings down rain. Ushmuel horid geshamim. And Shmuel was also able to bring down rain. So we see the concept of the tzaddikim, through their prayer, are able to intercede, and they can kavyachol force the mazal to go according to what they want. As opposed to the teshuvah adjusts based on the sachar va'onish. But the teshuvah alone, unless of course the person's a tzaddik, is not going to have an impact on the mazal, in the mazal al shel mazalot. Okay, Kof Samach Hey, Mazal Kol HaMazalot. Bier ha'inyan b'Gemara. This was explained in the Gemara, Masechet Moed Katan, Kaf Chet Amud Aleph. Amar Rabba. Rabba said, Hayeh b'nei mezoneh, these three items, which of course is talui b'mazal ha'elyon, Chaim, life, b'nei, children, and mezoneh, sustenance, and this is the whole concept he discussed previously, about there are three keys that God did not give over to the world, he retained for himself. This is the same idea. Lo bizchuta talia. These three keys are not tied to zichuyot, milta. Ela b'mazalat talia milta, but they are really connected to the mazal. What mazal? The mazal elyon. Deha Rabba v'Rav Chisda tarvayu Rabbanan tzadikei havu. We see that Rava and Rav Chisda were both tzadikim. They were both righteous. More matzle v'atem mitra. One of them prayed and rain came. V'mor umor matzle v'atem mitra. And this one prayed and rain came. Rav Chisda chaya tishin v'tratin shanin. Rav Chisda was able to live for 93 years. Rabba chaya arba'in, but Rabba only lived for 40 years. So we see that they're both tzaddikim. They have the ability to bring the rain, and yet we see that Rav Chisda lived 93 years and Rabba lived for 40 years. Be Rav Chisda shitin hilulei. Be Rav Chisda, the sons of Rav Chisda, had 60 smachot, 60 different types of smachot, presumably weddings and other things like that, Brit Milah. Be Rabba shitin tichle. But the house of Rava, the children of Rava, had 60 different mourning episodes. mourning, mourning, avelut. Be Rav Chisda, the house of Rav Chisda, semida lekalbe vela mitba'eh. There was enough food even for a kelev to be able to eat, which means there was a tremendous amount of material wealth. Be Rava nahama de Shaare le'inashe. He had barely enough bread to survive. Vela mishtakach, would not be able to find, which means that we see the differences between these three in Beneh, Chayeh, and Mezoneh. Ubier ha'inyan b'dat tfunot, and this was explained by the Ramchal in the book Dat Tfunot, Kof Peichet, Bezel Shano, and this is his language. Klal tikun habriya chilek oto ha'adon baruch Hashem. The klal, the concept of tikkun habriya, of correcting, of fixing the briya, the creation, this was divided by Hashem, ben kol haneshamot asher asa le'ovdo, amongst all the souls that God created to serve Him. And each one was given a specific tafkid to do a tikkun of the Bria based on that individual soul's ability that Hashem created. Or invested with that soul rather than created. According to the way that Hashem created that individual. And this is very, very deep concept, very, very hidden. And this is not known to any prophet or any person who had visions. But based on this government that we see, has nothing to do with merits or demerits or merits or requirements. But this is specifically regarding the Bria, the correction of the Bria, which is not connected to the person's Zachar va'onesh. It's connected to the fixing of the entire world that this person's soul is destined to, is required to fix. And that has nothing to do with the person's Zichuyot. Karua Chachamim Zichronon Levachan. Our rabbis call them Mazal. Call this Mazal. Ya'an en inyana ela gezerah. Because this is a decree. It's not subject, shall we say, for change. And this is not connected to the bechira, to the free choice of a person or his merits. That the happenings of the person is decreed from the root of the upper root, which of course is the keter shel habriya, of the briya, letzorach hashlamat tafkido letachlit habriya, specifically regarding how he's going to create, what he's going to do, what's his mission to fix the creation. And that's why God decreed that everybody is given the utensils and the spiritual abilities that is necessary in order to fulfill his mission in the world. For one of them, the way he fulfills his mission in the world is by being poor, and the other one fulfills his mission in the world by being rich. That can't be changed. There's no way to change that just based on teshuvah. For this one, it's going to have a long life. For this one, it's going to have a shortened life. This one has children, and this one, chas v'shalom, is barren. And so we see that God governs the person with two different aspects. Yesh hanagat sechar va'onesh. There's one hanagat that's called sechar va'onesh, that's bizchuta, based on merits. Lefish ma'asav v'hanagat hamishpat. This is according to his deeds, according to the justice. Lefi ma'asav hatovim or ra'im, according to his good deeds or the bad deeds. V'yesh hanagat hamazal elyon, but there's a different type of government, which is from the mazal elyon, which is from the keter. Shanaga zot lo tuluya b'ma'asim tovim she'oseh adam ha'adam, because that mazal is not connected to the good deeds a person does. Ela lafi tafkido b'tikun olam, but based on his mission in the world to correct the world. Yesh aniyut shetluya lafi ma'asav. There's a type of poverty that is connected to a person's deeds, that through changing the person's deeds, you can change that poverty. Hare'oti et ma'asai v'kipachti et panasati. That's what it says over here. It says Masechet Kiddushin on Daf Pei Bet Amud Bet. When a person made his deeds bad, then he causes parnasah to be limited. והמזלזל בנטילת ידיים בא לידי עניות. And in Masechet Shabbat, in Samach Bet, Amud Bet, it says, a person who's not careful with netilat yadayim, he becomes chas v'shalom impoverished. So we see these Gemara seem to suggest that through a person's actions, he can become poor. But there's a different type of poverty that comes to a person by way of the government of the mazal, which is the keter. Because this is what is decreed from the roots of the creation. That he should worship Hashem through poverty. And through this, that's not going to change by the person having merit. We know Hillel was a tremendously poor man. He was a tremendous righteous person, but nevertheless he was poor. Nothing changed. That didn't change. Kidemocha b'maaseh de ben Padat, like it's explained in the Maaseh ben Padat in Masechet Ta'anit Kaf Hey. Yesh sheniftar b'kitzur yamim b'hamat onesh karet. There is one individual that chas v'shalom could be taken early on because of a punishment of karet based on bad deeds. V'yesh nigzalo shanim muatot la'avodat Hashem. But there's another one that has a specific decree of a limited amount of years, and that's the gzera from Shamayim. Kedita b'moed katan, like it's explained in Masechet Moed Katan on Kaf Chet Amud Aleph. Shirabah hay 40 shana, that Rabbah lived for 40 years. Umazal kol hamazalot shafilo sefer Torah shebeichal, and the mazal kol hamazalot, which is the keter, and that even the sefer Torah shebeichal talui bo is connected to that mazal. Shorsho min hanagata keter, that's rooted from the government of the keter. V'lo me hanagata tiferet, and not from the hanaga of the tiferet. That's the difference between the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is the hanhaga of the world, and the hanhaga of the Ehyeh, which is the hanhaga of the Olam Haba. Shisham makom hamishpat ubetin shamala, because in the Tiferet, that's the betin shamala. Of course, it gets from the Gevurah to the Tiferet. Okay. Kof Samach Zayin. So now the rabbi here is going to discuss when he referred to not like according to those people that say this is only one, they try to understand how this stira in the Gemara, that there's no mazal for the Yisra, but there is mazal. They try to understand that there's only one mazal. And what the rabbi is going to explain that they didn't understand, there's two mazalot. There's the mazal that of the constellations, and then there's the mazal of the Tikuna Bria, which is the mazal of the Keter, and that is not subject to change, with the exception of the Tzaddik. Ita b'Gemara Shabbat. It says in Gemara Masechet Shabbat in Kof Nun Vav Amud Aleph. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Minayin she'en mazal Yisrael." Where do we learn that there's no mazal for the Jewish people? Shene'emar, as it says, u'me'otot hashamayim al yehetu. From the signs of the otot, from the signs of the shamayim, they will not be diminished. The Af Rav Savar e Mazal Yisrael, and Rav held that there's no mazal for Yisrael. Shnei Emar etzel Avraham, as it says by Avraham Avinu, vayotze oto achutza, that he took him outside, which means outside the mazalot. Zeh mitzvah gerut shelcha, that you're going to leave your constellation, you leave your prediction, what was supposed to happen to you. The kavanat Rabbeinu, and a kavanah of the rabbi, she'en mazal Yisrael, that there's no mazal for the Jewish people, and a kavanah mazal alyon. This is not talking about the mazal alyon, which is the mazal of the keter. Shuha mazal antonet tafkido betikuna bria meketer alyon. And this mazal alyon is the mazal that gives him his tafkid, gives him his position, his place, his function in the world to correct the bria. This comes from the keter alyon. Ela al hashpat hakochavim v'mazalot shehem hamemunim ba'olam ha'asiyah. But only on the hashpata of the kochavim and the mazalot, the constellations, basically that are appointed by, of course, by Hashem in the world of the formation. In the world of the formation, the world olam ha'asiyah, which is this world, lo'orida tashefa la'olam, to bring down the shefa, to bring down abundance to the world. Them me'orim latet chelkam ba'adam, and they are risen up to give the portion of the person according to what he deserves. Kedita, like it's explained there. Hi, man de betzedek ye gever tzidkan. Man tzedek is Saturn. Here, man Saturn, which is one of the mazalot, ye givar tzidkan. If he's born in that time, he can be a strong individual. Hi, man de ma'adim ye shofech damim. If a person is born in the mazal of ma'adim, which is Mars, then he is shofech damim. Then chas v'shalom has a tendency to be a killer, a murderer, or one who spills blood. The Katav Rashi, and Rashi explains, Sham, Shavram nolad bekochav tzedek, that Avraham was nolad in the kochav of tzedek, which is Saturn, b'ma'arav, in the west, v'hu makom metzonan, and this is a place that is cold, v'eno yachol le'olid, and he cannot give birth to children based on that. V'shina kadosh baruch hu et hamazal le'mizrach v'yachal le'olid, and what God did is through changing his name, what he did is he changed the mazal of Avraham Avinu to the Mizrach, which is to the east, and therefore he can give birth to children. And based on that, the mazalot of the lower mazalot, En mazal Yisrael. This is what's written, and it says En mazal Yisrael. VeYisrael yecholim lashonot et mazal adei ma'asehem atovim v'azichuyot. And the Jewish people can change the mazal, which of course is the mazal of the tachton, the mazal tachton, through good deeds, proper deeds and merit. Aval mazal elyon, but the mazal elyon, which is the mazal, and that's the keter, shehu tafkido b'shoshei abriya v'tikunea, that is his role in the roots of the bria and correcting the bria. Chaye b'nei mezoneh, children, life and sustenance. Lo b'zchuta b'maasim tovim. This has nothing to do with zechut and maasim tovim. Tal yamilta. This is connected to. V'sham yesh mazal ve'en leshanot. And there, even the Jewish people have mazal and cannot be changed. Ve'rak mishu tzadik gamur. Only an individual is considered to be a tzadik gamur. And this we discussed in the book Talmud Esas Sefirot, what the Tzaddik Gamur is, and that has to do with the person who's achieved all 613 mitzvot, including the Ahavat Hashem, and he does all the mitzvot 100% L'Shem Shamayim. This is called Tzaddik Gamur. This individual, Moshel B'Yirat Elohim, this one rules Kav Yachol over, shall we say, Hashem. Yachol Hagia Ad LaKeter Elyon Lemshok Misham Banim. Therefore, he can go to the Keter Elyon and draw directly from the Keter Elyon emanation that will allow him to have children. Vehi Shitat Shuvat HaRashba, and this is the Shita of the Rashba, Chelak Aleph Siman Mem Tet, the Ramchal, and this is also how the Ramchal explains it in Da'at Tfunot Kof Samachet, and the Ramat Mipano, Ba'asara Ma'amarot. Velo Kemahashevet HaChoshvim, but not according to the thoughts of the ones who thought. What's he talking about here? Shekatav Rabbeinu, that our rabbi over there wrote, Hema Tosafot ve'aran ve'aritva. That's specifically referring to the Tosafot, the Ran, Rabbeinu Nisim, and the Ritva. In Masechet Moed Katan, in Daf Kaf Chet. The Darshot Haran, and also in the Darshot Haran, Drushei Shemini, in Drush Shemini. The eighth drasha. Shelo hiskiru klal inyan mazal elyon, and those rabbis didn't mention all the mazal elyon, which would cause them to have all the confusion. Vikshu stira me'agmara, and they brought a stira from the Gemara Masechet Shabbat. She'en mazal Yisrael, the Gemara Masechet Katan, Masechet Moed Katan, to the Gemara Masechet Moed Katan. Shebnei hayem mazena lo b'zchutat aliyah, that these three things are not connected to the mazal. Milta. Veyesh mazal, and there is mazal. So this is a stira from one Gemara to another. Ubahavino shekola mazal tanis karim bagmara inyan echadhem, and this is where you have to understand that all the mazalot that are mentioned in the Gemara, it's all one. That was their mistake. V'tutzu sham she'en mazal Yisrael, and there they answered that there is no mazal Yisrael. Hakavana sheYisrael lechum lashanot kol mazalot afilu mazal elyon, that they can change all the mazalot, even the mazal elyon, al yedei zchut gadol or yedei tefillah v'tzedakah. That was the opinion of the rabbis there, and of course Rabbi Gikatilia, as do the Ramchal and the Rashba, disagree. That mazal cannot be changed by way of deeds. That can only be changed by way of tefillah and tzedakah. Okay, Kof Samach Zayin, Kama inyanim noraim v'niflaim. Kol halomed Torah lishma. Anyone who learns Torah lishma, which means 100% only for God, only for to lasot nachat ruach, to give pleasantness to Hashem. That is what it means lishma. If there's any part, even if it's a small part, any part that is for you, then it's not 100% l'shem shamayim. Hu munhagu mushkach behanhaga shehi me'al hanhagat kochavim me'amazalot. When a person is learning Torah, and this of course is the true goal of learning Torah, mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma. That's why the Gemara, we discussed this in the Sunday night class 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, that there's the Gemara that over there that says that I lost my train of thought. Give me 1 second. This concept of learning Torah lishma. So in one place it says, Mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma. Therefore, a person even should learn Torah not lishma, to be called a rabbi, for people to stand up for them, because the Torah has this quality that it can become lishma. And then there's another place that says, a person learns Torah not l'shem shamayim, noach lo shelo nivra. It's better that it not be created. How do we understand this dira? That the Torah has this quality that through the learning of the Torah, that quality can change his learning and also his mitzvah observance to be l'shem shamayim. And there, Rav Ashlag says in there that a person has anywhere between 3 and 5 years for that. If in the Torah of a Nigle, of the Torah of the Gemara and Poskim, if after 5 years of spending time with Gemara and Poskim, he does not arrive at Torah lishma, then he should, of course, still study Torah with Gemara and Poskim for the purpose of learning the halacha, but he spend more time on the sod, because the sod, the secret, the Zohar, or the secret of what we're learning now, has the ability to bring a person lishma much better, or not much better, I shouldn't say. It's easier to arrive at Torah l'shem shamayim through studying the sod than it is through studying the nigle. Very, very few people can achieve the lishma, that level, through the nigle, but more people can achieve it through the nistar, and that's what Rav Ashlag says. If anyone has questions, I can send those classes. That hopefully we'll continue that on the Sunday nights. Continuing on, Komosh Katav B'Nefesh HaChaim, like it's written in the Nefesh HaChaim from Chaim Volozhin, Shaare Dalet Perek Yudchet V'Zel Shono, and this is his language. V'lozot Adam HaMekabel Atzmo Ol HaTorah, and for this particular individual that accepts upon himself the yoke of the Torah Kedosha, Lishma LaAmita, Lishma, which means for the sake of heaven, LaAmita, for the truth of the Torah, and no other reason. He is risen up above all of the aspects of this world. Umushkach meito yitbarach hashkacha pratit, and he receives a special type of hashkacha pratit from Hashem, lemala mehoraat kochot hativim ve'mazalot kulam, above the kochot of the natural forces and the mazalot and the constellations. Kevan shu davuk b'Torah ve'kadosh baruch hu mamash kavyachol, because when a person is learning Torah lishma, he is attaching himself to the Torah, and through attaching himself to the Torah, is attaching himself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, umitkadesh b'kedusha alyona, and he is sanctified with a holiness from above, shel HaTorah, of the Torah, HaKdosha, shehi lemala le'en aruch mikol ha'olamot, because the Torah is above all the worlds, as it says, that Talmud Torah keneged kulam, it's vis-a-vis all the mitzvot. V'zesh kata b'raya mehenna, and this is what's written in Zohar and the Raya mehenna in Pinchas Resh Yud Vav Amud Bet Targum. Bo ur'eh kol briot haolam. Of course, this is translated into Hebrew. Come and see all the briot of the world, all of the creations of the world. Kodem shikna Torah leYisrael hayu tluim b'mazal. Before the Torah was given to the Jewish people, everything was according to the mazalot. Aval achash nitna Torah leYisrael, but after the Torah was given to the Jewish people, hotziem migzeratam shel kochavim u'mazalot. He took the Jewish people out from underneath the gzerah, the kochavim and the mazalot. Of course, everything comes from Hashem, we need to understand, like we discussed earlier. Umishum zeh, and that's from this, kol ha'osek b'Torah, whoever is involving himself in the Torah, of course, lishma, batel mimenu gzeratam shel kochavim u'mazalot. This is how a Jew is able to cancel his and gets his sustenance from above and not from the mazalot, which of course is the kochavim, the constellations. The adraba, and moreover, hakochot hativim misurim elav. He rules over the natural world. Kasher yigzor omer alehem, just like when he decrees and says on the natural world, l'chol asher yahpotz yitem, whatever he desires happens. Ve'imato mutelat al kulam, and other people are fearful of him or awful. They're awestruck with this person. Like he explained in his explanation to the Torah. And look in the Orah Chaim in Parashat Beshalach, in Yud Daled Kaf Zayin, Moshe Rabbeinu bakat hayam bekoach HaTorah. That Moshe Rabbeinu was able to split the ocean through the force of the Torah. V'zeh haya kocham shel Tanaim HaKadoshim. And this was the ability of the Tanaim, the holy Tanaim, the rabbis of the Mishnah. Kigon Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, like Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, shebaka hanahar, like who split the ocean, who split the river. Ushara Tanaim, and the other Tanaim, Shasu Nisim, that they did all kinds of miracles. Bishinui hateva mikoach HaTorah, through changing nature through the power of the Torah. And all of this, however, is only with the kochavim, only with the mazalot that are of the Kochavim, of the constellations. But of course, the Mazal Elyon, which is the Keter of Bnei Hayeh Mizoneh, the Ratzon of Hashem, Mishorash HaShorashim, En Leshanot. From the root of all roots, there is no way to change that. Kedemochach Me'uvda de Rav Pidat, like it's explained, what we discussed of Rav Pidat, She'af al pi sheyat tzaddik gadol, that even though he was a tremendous tzaddik, lo yachal leshanot mazalo me'aniyut la'ashiyut. He was unable to change his mazal from being poor to becoming rich. Okay. All right, I think we're going to stop here. This is a good place to stop before we go to the next page. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen ve'amen.